All right, today we're diving deep into the absolutely fascinating world of crystals. For literally thousands of years, these have been seen as so much more than just pretty objects. People have viewed them as tools of power, even instruments of healing. So we're going to uncover their whole story, from deep inside the earth all the way to their role in modern wellness. Let's get into it. So let's just tackle the big question right out of the gate, shall we? Are crystals just pretty rocks? I mean, it's what most of us think when we see them, right? They're in jewelry, they're on our shelves, and while nobody can deny how beautiful they are, the story our source material tells, well, it goes way, way deeper than that. So to really get this, we've got to look past the modern-day decoration and really understand their historical weight. For millennia, these were not just accessories. They were seen as legitimate instruments of power. This quote right here really sets the stage. Just picture a king's crown, loaded with jewels, or the high priest's breastplate in ancient cultures. According to our source, those weren't just fancy symbols of the job. The belief was that the gems themselves literally conveyed actual power to the person wearing them. And this idea of power, it is not new, not by a long shot. In fact, the connection that humans have with crystals, it goes back thousands and thousands of years, spanning entire civilizations. But before we even get to the human side of things, let's just take a quick peek at their natural history. I mean, crystals are quite literally born from the Earth's fiery core. You've got molten magma cooling over millions of years, or minerals getting totally transformed by insane heat and pressure deep inside the crust. Talk about an origin story, right? It's really key to understanding why they've had this enduring mystique. And this timeline, wow, it just shows you how deep this connection really is. We're starting way back in the Stone Age, where people wore crystals as protective talismans. Fast forward to ancient Sumeria, where you have the goddess Inanna holding rods of lapis lazuli that were believed to measure life itself. And then, of course, in Egypt, King Tut's famous mask was inlaid with all kinds of crystals, all to protect his soul in the afterlife. It's just everywhere. Okay, so we've seen them as these ancient symbols of power, but how are they believed to actually work? Let's break down the core ideas behind crystal healing, at least as they're described in our source material. The central concept here is holistic healing. And this isn't about, just treating a single symptom. The belief is that crystals are working on every single aspect of a person at once: the physical, the mental, the emotional, and the spiritual. The whole shebang. So digging a little deeper, the source defines it like this. The goal is to realign these subtle energies to get at the root cause of what it calls dis-ease. And notice the hyphen there. It's not just disease, but a fundamental lack of ease or harmony inside a person. And to get that, we have to talk about vibration. According to this framework, pretty much everything has its own unique vibration. And the human body is supposedly surrounded by this energy field, sometimes called the biomagnetic sheath, or more commonly, the aura. The idea is that crystals, which have this super stable, perfect structure, can basically act like a tuning fork, helping to rebalance the kind of chaotic or unstable vibrations within our own energy field. So how do they do that? Well, that's where chakras come in. In this system of belief, chakras are these specific energy centers. You can think of them as linkage points that regulate the body's whole vibrational state. The idea is that if you place specific crystals on these points, you can bring them back into balance, which in turn is believed to improve both physical and psychological well-being. Okay, so that's the theory. A lot to take in. But how does this all translate into actual practice? Let's look at some of the real-world ways people use crystals, as described in our source. This table gives us some really great, concrete examples. You might say wear a piece of hematite jewelry to feel more confident. Or maybe you'd place a big citrine geode in a specific part of your home to attract wealth and abundance. And for a very specific problem, like a migraine, the source suggests you could place a piece of lapis lazuli on your forehead to help draw out the pain. And it's not a one-size-fits-all kind of thing. Different crystals are believed to have totally different kinds of energy. Some, like the cool, calming rose quartz, are considered sedating. They're used to soothe you when your energy is just too much. And then you have others, like the fiery orange carnelian, which are stimulating. They're used to get things moving and energize you when you're feeling sluggish. Now, this is an absolutely essential part of the practice: cleansing your crystals. The whole point is to clear out any negative or just foreign vibrations the stone might have picked up. The most common ways to do this are holding it under some running water or leaving it out in the sunlight or moonlight. But, and this is pretty cool, there are exceptions.
The source points out that some crystals, like citrine and kyanite, are actually considered self-cleaning, no work required.
So, after all the history, the theory, and the practice, where does that leave you? Well, our final section here brings it all back home to your own personal connection and intuition.
Ultimately, this is the core message. It's all about your personal connection. More than any book, more than any set of rules, the real guidance here is to just be with the crystal, to quietly contemplate its energy, and in a way, let it teach you what it's all about. It's really presented as this personal journey of discovery. And that brings us to our final thought. The big idea behind everything we've talked about is this concept of tuning our personal energy. So we'll leave you with this question to just kind of ponder. If you could tune your personal energy, what would you tune it to? Thanks for joining us for this explainer.